Welcome back to the Papa Shrill Nose podcast. We are back to talk again about Arrowhead as the Chiefs finally unveiled kind of their plans and ideas of what they're going to do with the stadium once the Royals move out and move downtown, as well as the offseason has officially begun with Kansas City Chiefs making some moves and announcements today. And obviously some interesting ones. Ones that I think everybody saw coming to kick off free agency, so we'll see where the Chiefs kind of maneuver to move ahead in the off season. But again, welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom, and anyone else that is listening to this podcast. Welcome you in. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe. Obviously, we're available on wherever you find your favorite podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as YouTube. Go check those out. You can follow me on my socials on Twitter, Papa_Shro, as well as TikTok and Instagram as well. Take out the underscore, just Papa Shro Knows on Instagram. Other than that, Papa_Shro on Twitter as well as TikTok. And so just to get right into it, obviously the plans were released for the Kansas City Chiefs and what they kind of plan to do with the Truman Sports Complex once the Royals kind of move out of there, and kind of a lot of what I kind of thought and predicted of, they're planning for a stage, looked like a bit of a football field, essentially like a little small football field in front of a stage out there. Some other plans, some suites down on the field, which you see a lot of NFL teams or NFL stadiums do now. SoFi Stadium, I know, has some, as well as in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium as well. They have those suites kind of in the end zone right there on the field. And that was one of the renderings kind of showing some suites, obviously, for your big buck fans that are going to come in there and spend a lot of money to get down on the field. But I do like the idea of it and the aesthetic. I mean, it just looks nice. I've seen a lot of people, local people, already complaining about it in Kansas City and the money being spent and all that good stuff. But I think that just comes with the territory, and especially with Kansas City, becoming, a bigger city and, more people, obviously a big influx of people into Kansas City, as well as the winning. The Chiefs are winning. The Chiefs are winning a lot. Back-to-back world champions. They've been on this stage now for a few years. And as well as the World Cup coming in 2026, that's going to be huge for Arrowhead, as I think it was, I want to say it was either 4 or 6 games are planned for Arrowhead Stadium for the 2026 World Cup, which is huge for the city, just in general. And I think that these plans are going to be awesome. I think that it's going to make for a better environment on game day, a great environment on game day out at the stadium. There's other roads they're going to build leading up, and obviously if you get stuck in traffic out there at Arrowhead, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't get there early, you are going to be jam-packed in traffic for a while. There's only, a handful of ways to get into the complex. So I think it's going to make for a better experience just all around for game day, whether it's traffic, just the environment. Again, I kind of talked in the last podcast about the Ford Tailgate District and kind of building something up now to go hand in hand with that. I think will be great to see. I'm kind of going back to the pictures. I'm going to look exactly at some of these renderings. Yeah, I think it just makes for there's a bigger walkway to kind of get from. There's a lot of people that don't necessarily park in the stadium and kind of come from all over and walk up there. So there's a walkway that's going to go over the booths that let cars into the stadium parking to get to and from Arrowhead, which I think is awesome to see. And again, the Chiefs being on this stage of, again, another Thursday night game will come to Kansas City to open up the season. And, if you get those games again, I mean, you have this huge stage that they're going to build with, a football field, kind of have some fun on, maybe throw a football around on the field, or, just to be there. I mean, the aesthetic of it, essentially. There's going to be a big stage. You could have your NFL CBS, NFL Today crew, or, any kind of pregame, postgame type thing. And, people love that. People love to interact with that. And I think that a lot of people like to see, get close to that environment. I think a lot of times you see where, they do it on the field and people kind of flock to that section and try to, whether it's get on camera or, anything like that. Or, even the way that Amazon has produced the Thursday night football games in general, not just that opening game, but the Thursday night games in general where the crew is there, they kind of have multiple setups. So to, have that available out there outside of the stadium as well, I think is a very good move. Other than that, I think I pretty much hit on just about everything they kind of proposed. There's going to be an upper concourse canopy, which that's still on the same side, so I don't know exactly what, because it's already, if you go upstairs on the side with the press boxes, you can go right underneath the press boxes, and there's concessions there and stuff, so I'm not exactly sure what that entails. A VIP entry, new video boards, so I'm assuming just upgrades to the video boards, which, they just did upgrade that, so I don't know, what a big difference that'll make with the video boards. A VIP entry and canopy coming from the activation zone, which is going to be the area I was talking about, kind of with a stage and a football field. That's what they're going to call it, is the activation zone. A rideshare zone as well, which is going to be awesome, I think, for people that, again, Uber or Lyft into the game or into the stadium, because that's kind of a mess right now, essentially. To have a dedicated area for that will make that a lot easier. And I think a lot of these things are going to be huge on game day for traffic, essentially. I mean, obviously, when you're gathering 70,000 to 80,000 people in one area, it's not going to be easy to get traffic in or out. And this place, I don't think Arrowhead was necessarily set up in a great way for that in the first place. So to just alleviate that is going to be awesome. I mean, when we go to games, we hang out until they kick us out just because, and traffic still isn't great then. You hang out at the stadium an hour after the game and, you expect everybody to be gone afterwards, but, it's still hit and miss. You still hit traffic again. You got 70,000 to 80,000 people trying to get out of the same place at the same time. It's never going to be easy. So to alleviate that a little bit, I think it's funny if people complaining about it, honestly, because it's only going to make it better. It's going to make a better experience. So, I mean, I guess if you're complaining about it because you don't care or you don't want to go to a Chiefs game, everybody's got their opinion. But at the end of the day, this is going to make this better for the city in general. It's going to make it better for the people that are going to the game and a game day experience. It's going to make it better for the World Cup when it comes in 2026, which, that's just 2 years away. So I don't know how much of this you get done before that. Obviously, probably start on it as quick as possible because you obviously can't tear down Kaufman until you build the stadium downtown, and obviously that's got to get voted on first. And this will have to get voted on as well. It'll be two separate things that you're going to vote on, but you're going to have to get it passed first. You're going to have to then build the stadium, then tear down Kaufman to then be able to put the construction up to build this. So I don't know if 2 years is realistic to see the outcome for the World Cup, but we'll see, and we'll see what they get done. Maybe things like the video boards and, little things like that, or maybe working on the roadways, in and out of Arrowhead and things like that. Maybe the bridge coming from out of the stadium into the stadium area, into the complex. Maybe you can get that done by then. We'll see. But I think it's amazing. Like I've said, I can't wait for the Royals to move. I can't wait for the Royals to go downtown. Let us have this area for the Chiefs. This is going to be an awesome, I think it's going to be awesome for the game day experience, essentially. So, moving on from that, let me know what you think, too, whether you're a Chiefs fan or not. Let me know what you think about the renovations, what you think it's going to bring to the game day experience, and if you like it or you hate it. So, moving on, the offseason has begun. The offseason has officially begun. The Kansas City Chiefs announced this morning, as the time that I'm recording, MVS will be cut. And I don't know if that's I don't know if that's right now or if that starts at the league calendar, obviously June 1, if he'll be cut then, pre or post June 1. So we'll see. Because I haven't dove deep into that. Obviously, it was just announced this morning that MVS is going to be released officially. I think everybody saw that coming. I think that was pretty much a no-brainer. You save $12 million on the cap, and MVS was what he was. Shout out to MVS for the amazing playoff performance he gave the Kansas City Chiefs, but, for 17 games, MVS was a liability on the field. He definitely stepped up big time in the playoffs, and he underplayed. I don't think any of us in the kingdom really enjoyed how he went about the drops. When he was asked about it in the locker room, and that whole clip that was put out where he basically was like, I don't know what you're talking about, essentially, which was just mind-blowing because it's like you just dropped a game winner against the Eagles. I think that was like a week or two before that. You just dropped a game winner. You dropped all of these passes throughout the year that are, huge moments. And I think that, the drops wouldn't have even been that big of a deal if it wasn't for, obviously under a microscope when you're in that situation where you're about to win a game. You could have won the game off of that. I think the Green Bay game, when there was another drop at Green Bay. And Kadarius Toney, same thing. You kind of put the microscope on it because if Kadarius Toney doesn't toss up a ball that hits him in the hands to a Lions defender to run it for a touchdown and a pick six, the Chiefs win that game. The Chiefs win week 1 without Kadarius Toney on the field. Not to get too much into the Toney, and we'll see what happens with him because I'm not 100% sold that he'll be back next year either. But MVS, I think, was a no-brainer cut. It's $12 million on the cap that you're saving, and for a guy that was a liability most of the year, I don't think that MVS fits very well into the system, and the system really passed him by throughout the year. Rashee Rice really grew into his role, and I don't think that MVS was a needed piece on the offense. You still have Sky Moore, which we'll see, how that goes. At the moment that I'm recording this, Kadarius Toney is still part of this roster. You have Rashee Rice, obviously. You're probably going to draft somebody. Could go out. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation on who the Chiefs could go out and get. Mike Evans is out there. T. Higgins was obviously franchise tagged by the Bengals, so we'll see how that kind of goes. Probably not going to be able to get him in a trade with the Bengals. So we'll see. We'll see how the receiving core shapes up in the offseason. Obviously, last year was kind of disappointing throughout the offseason, was kind of, very questionable about how the Chiefs went about piecing this receiving core together. I think they'll do a better job this year. I think they learned their lesson, and I think cutting MVS kind of shows that. Say, okay, we need to move on, and let's figure something else out. So I think it's a great move, and again, I saw a lot of back and forth because I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle of it. I appreciate what MVS did in the playoffs, but it was a no-brainer to cut him. And I saw a lot of people saying either one, that, oh, that's cold after the performance he just gave the Chiefs in the playoffs and they cut him just like that. And then I saw the other side of where literally someone posted the picture of him dropping the ball or the video of him dropping the ball against the Eagles. It was like he should have been cut right after that. Very extreme. Way too extreme. I don't think the MVS should have been cut at any point in the middle of the season. And the biggest thing of that is like, who the hell would you go to anyways after that? I think when people get on these tirades of, it's week 13 and let's cut this guy and this guy's got to go, like, what you can't just do that, really. I mean, that's just not plausible to do in the middle of an NFL season, I don't think, and especially with Andy's system, and we've seen all of these receivers have trouble, kind of adapting to his system and learning his system, and they bring guys along, slowly, especially the young guys. So we'll see how it goes. I'm very optimistic with the Chiefs receiving core going into 2024. Obviously, we're right here at the beginning of the offseason, so we don't know exactly how that's going to go. I think McCole Hardman's a free agent. I didn't read Justin Watson but I don't think he's under contract for 2024. I'm pretty sure he's not. He was a one-year deal. Not 100% sure on that. I'll do some more digging into that. I might do that right now while we're recording here, just to see where he is at on his contract. The other big news, though, L'Jarius Sneed will be franchise tagged. And I think that was another one kind of obvious. Okay, Justin Watson does have one more year on the deal. And it looks like his cap number is going to be right under $3 million at 2.9 next year. So Justin Watson is under contract for 2024. Okay, I didn't read his name, but I did think he was a contract, but he is not. He's not a free agent. Justin Watson will be back with the Chiefs next season. As of right now, if they were to cut him pre-June 1, it'd be 2.7 on the cap they'd save, and it'd be the same post-June 1. Look up Marquez Valdez-Scantling as well. But going back to L'Jarius Sneed, I think this was another obvious one. They were going to franchise tag him. And I didn't think that they would go with the franchise tag on Chris Jones just because they did that last year. We got to the season. Week 1, of course, he was sitting up in the booth, wasn't playing, came back in week 2. So, that was a whole mess, obviously. But I've also seen reports where, they think that possibly he would, the agents would not make the same mistakes as last year. We'll see where he goes and what he gets money-wise and how many years is going to be on that contract because, again, Chris Jones is getting up there in age, whereas L'Jarius Sneed this is his first deal. And they are going to look to make a long-term deal with L'Jarius Sneed. If something doesn't work out, though, they are putting him out there on the market. They straight up said they are looking to trade him if they don't get a deal done. And I think that opens up a huge opportunity for Sneed because, first of all, next year, Sneed right now is right over $19 million, I think, is what the tag is. $19.8 million, so right under $20 million will be the hit for the Chiefs if he goes and plays under the tag. I think it's pretty obvious they're not going to have him play under the tag. So that's kind of hearsay right now. Just because they're going to trade him if they don't get a deal done. And this is where this one becomes a little bit interesting to me personally, just because where is Sneed's real valuation, right? I think that is very tough to say because I don't know how the league views him. Because you look at all year long, Sneed wasn't a Pro Bowl. Sneed wasn't an All-Pro. He was the best corner in the league, obviously. by far. And I know I'm biased personally as a Chiefs fan and, covering the Chiefs, but he was the best corner in the league by far. Look what number one receivers did against L'Jarius Sneed last year. Absolutely nothing is what they did against Sneed. He allowed one touchdown that came in the playoffs. One touchdown. I can't stress enough how good L'Jarius Sneed was last year. But I think a lot of people think it was the system. It was, Spags. It was, Trent McDuffie is obviously seen, I think, by the league as a better corner than L'Jarius Sneed personally, just because McDuffie wasn't All-Pro. But Sneed played better. So where is his, what's the money going to be on L'Jarius Sneed? Where are you going, what kind of money is he going to get around the league? What are you going to get in return in a trade if you go to trade him? I think that's a very interesting kind of thing, and we'll see what happens with it as this unfolds. Obviously it just came out that they're going to, all this news about putting him under the tag and also, working out a trade with somebody possibly if they can't get a long-term deal done. So, I don't know. I think the L'Jarius Sneed thing is definitely an interesting one. And I'm going to look up cornerbacks right now because I was kind of looking at this yesterday of APY. So you got Jair Alexander, $21 million a year. Denzel Ward, $20.1. Jalen Ramsey, $20 million flat APY. Sneed would be obviously the 19.8, which makes him the fourth highest paid DB in the league if he plays under the tag. Marlon Humphrey, 19.5. Marshawn Lattimore, 19.4. Trayvon Diggs, 19.4. Tre'Davious White, 17.25. 16.5 for J.C. Jackson. So where does Sneed fit? And for point of reference, to look at another corner from the Chiefs that moved on, Javarius Ward, APY, 13.5. So where does that put L'Jarius Sneed in the mix? Because personally, I think he's a high-end corner. I don't know if the Chiefs could pay him that kind of money, but is anyone else willing to pay him that kind of money? That's the real question. Is if he's traded, some type of sign and trade or something like that. One, what are you going to get in return? But two, what are other teams going to be willing to pay him? And I think with Sneed, we'll see. Obviously, I think, the Chiefs are going for a three-peat. I would assume Sneed would love to be a part of that if he can, if the money's right, dependent on if he goes somewhere else or anything like that. But we'll see how this unfolds. Personally, I think Sneed is probably somewhere in that 15 million APY range. But do other teams value him at that? Or I think that's kind of where other teams will probably kind of put that valuation on him, maybe 15 to 17, somewhere in that range. But, I think personally, if I was Sneed's agent, I would be going and saying, look, this is the best corner in the league. You're going to pay this guy, 19, 20 million APY. And that's just what it's going to be. So we'll see how it shapes out. I'm very interested to see how this shapes out. So the last thing I wanted to get into, just because I thought it was really interesting and coming out today, at least today is the first time I saw this, Mecole Hardman was on a podcast with Ryan Clark. Honestly, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what the podcast is. Forgive me for that. But here's a quick quote from Mecole Hardman on the Jets. There's no standard there. Everybody does what they want to do. The offense is just like, we'll just figure it out. It's Aaron's show. Let Aaron do what Aaron does. Then when Aaron goes down, it's like, we don't know what to do. This goes hand in hand with what Nathaniel Hackett did in Denver. It obviously shows, and not to just kind of bash on the guy, but Nathaniel Hackett is not an NFL level coach, I don't think. Or at least not a coordinator or a head coach. It obviously kind of shows that from what happened in Denver and what a mess that was, and to what he did in Green Bay with Aaron and what he is doing in New York. It's Aaron's show. It reminds me of Adam Gase at the end of Peyton Manning's career, where Peyton Manning ran that offense. Adam Gase got the credit for it and then got head coaching jobs for it afterwards. And we all got to see what level Adam Gase was. Adam Gase was a terrible NFL head coach. And Nathaniel Hackett is in the exact same situation where it's kind of just a person to put in place to let your quarterback run the offense, because you've got a guy that wants to do things his way, has been in the league forever now, and wants to run, things how he wants to run it. So the other thing that kind of came from this podcast was that Mecole Hardman kind of slipped up and said a couple of weeks before he was traded, he talked to Mahomes and Veach, said, get me out of here, let me come back home, basically. And I don't know the official tampering rules or anything, but obviously that doesn't seem like a good look, right, for anybody. And, if Mecole was reaching out, that's one thing. It'd be another thing if the Chiefs were going and reaching out to Mecole saying, hey, let's try to find a deal, and get you back into Kansas City. The thing that I think is interesting about this, that, because Mecole then came out and said he never contacted the Chiefs after this. He made a tweet about it and said, that he never reached out to the Chiefs. Well, I think it was week 4. Week 4, the Chiefs traveled to New York, and Mecole Hardman was with the Jets at the time. I wouldn't doubt to be on the, maybe on the field he said something like that. Maybe on the field he said, hey, get me back to Kansas City, in passing or something like that. I'm assuming that's kind of where that came from. I'm assuming that he didn't directly reach out to Mahomes or Veach, but I mean that could absolutely easily have happened on the field at the time. Like, I'm not happy here, bring me back, as a joke or whatever. Obviously, it put in the minds of the Chiefs. They went back out and got him, and he ends up making this catch to win the Super Bowl and as a hero and in Kansas City, which. Again, that's another one. We'll see if he ends up coming back to Kansas City next year or not. I don't know if there's really a place. I don't know. McCole Hardman's a pretty good receiver, I think. He has his ups and downs just like anybody else. I mean, I don't think he's an elite level or, top tier guy, but he is a good fit for the scheme that Andy Reid runs, and he's a good enough receiver, I think, to keep in the mix of what he does. I mean, he made a couple of mistakes and maybe, overcompensating for leaving and then coming back and trying to be a hero, obviously, in the Buffalo game, and ends up coming back and making the catch. I think he's a compatible starter in the Chiefs' offense. I think that he could be a good enough piece to keep around and be able to maneuver in the offense. So I'm not opposed to seeing McCole Hardman, obviously depending on the money and where you're going to spread your money out for the Chiefs, but I'm not against McCole Hardman coming back. But either way, I wanted to get back on the podcast real quick and throw something back out about, I just talked about the Arrowhead situation and what's going on with the Truman Sports Complex. Obviously, the Chiefs came out today and, had planned to release, some type of statement. They also released some renderings, so check those out. And, I'm going to put them in on the YouTube channel if you're watching this on YouTube, so you'll be able to see kind of what I'm talking about. And, with the news of MVS, the franchise tag, obviously the combine going on, there's a lot, all the teams are there, a lot of interviews. I'll probably get into, at some point down the line in the next week, into kind of what Clark said about the scorecards and stuff. I thought it was funny. I guess I'll just jump into that real quick to end this. But I thought it was funny because the locker rooms were one of the things that came up on the report card of the Chiefs having one of the worst locker rooms in the league. And, Clark kind of jokingly said, I don't know what locker room they're talking about because they just renovated it in 2021. And the locker room is amazing. If you haven't seen it, I mean, their locker room is phenomenal. So, obviously, you have a lot of these new stadiums in the league. And we're talking about stadiums built in the 60s. So, I get it. It's not up to the same standard that Allegiant Stadium or SoFi Stadium or, some of these brand new stadiums have and have built. And obviously the Bills are getting ready to build a new stadium in New York and what, level that will be on. But I think the Chiefs do a good job of maintaining, but they are ranked 31st in their facilities. Clark mentioned the practice facility and mentioned about renovating it as well, which I think would be a good idea because I can't remember how old exactly. I said maybe like 20 years and they haven't done anything with it since. So obviously probably need to upgrade that and work on that. And again, as I said, the influx of money, on the last episode, the influx of money that comes with winning Super Bowls and championships and, having deep playoff runs and having these, you got the face of the league at quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. There's really no arguing or debating it. That is the best quarterback, the premier position in the league, and the best player at that position. So, there's a lot that comes with that and a lot of money, and having the best head coach in the NFL doesn't hurt either. And having guys like Travis Kelce, Chris Jones around, and, obviously Taylor Swift's involvement with the Kansas City Chiefs this year, brings a lot of extra eyes and attention and, merchandise sales and all of these things. So, we'll see where it goes, but let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the renovations that are going to go on at Arrowhead over the next few years and, the plans. Let me know what you think about the L'Jarius Sneed situation. Where do you think he sits at APY? Where do you think the Chiefs should be trying to get L'Jarius Sneed to, and what's a good number, to kind of put him at? And obviously Chris Jones. Are you willing to overpay for Chris Jones to stay in Kansas City at the end of his career and finish it up here and go for the three-peat? Let me hear your thoughts. So again, comment, like, smash the subscribe button over on YouTube. Down below on Spotify, you can comment as well. leave your comments and thoughts. Let me know what you think, and I can also share those on the podcast if you share your thoughts and opinions with me. So again, go smash that like button, subscribe. Over on the socials, of course, Papa_Schro over on Twitter and TikTok, Papa Schro Knows on Instagram. Hit those up, and we will be back next time. See you again.